Alright, hello. So this video is going to be about simplifying square roots that have variables in them. Now, we're going to start by going over with ones that just have variables in them, and then we're going to do maybe one or two that have numbers and variables. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to kind of come up with a little shortcut rather than to write everything out. So what I mean by write everything out is that this is x to the fourth power, so this is really just x times x times x times x. Right, that's what x to the fourth means. And then if you're simplifying a square root, you would typically just circle your groups of 2. And then from your groups of 2, your 1 would come out front, 1 would go away from each group, 1 would come out front, 1 would go away. So this would tell me that 2 x's came out front, or an x times x, and nothing's left inside, so this would mean that my answer would be an x to the second power. All right. The way we want to shortcut this is we want to try to figure out how many groups are we going to have to circle without actually having to write all those x's out. So did I know that I was going to circle exactly 2 groups of x's? The answer is yes. I did know that I was going to circle 2 groups of x's because I knew this number 4. I knew I was going to write out 4, and I knew I was going to circle groups of 2. So that is saying, if I have 4 things, how many groups of 2 can I have? Well, that's 2. That's just, you're doing division. You're taking your number of that your variable has and you're dividing it by 2. All right, because that's the amount of groups that you're circling. So for this one, how many x groups am I going to have? And how many y groups am I going to have? Well, for my x groups, I'm just going to take the exponent that's on x and I'm going to divide it by 2. So I'll take 6 divided by 2. So that means that I'm going to have 3 groups of x's. And 10 divided by 2 for my y's, I'm going to have 5 groups of y's. And from each group, 1's going to escape. So really my answer means that there's going to be 3 x's that escape and 5 y's that escape. Okay, so that's kind of the gist of how we're going to go about doing this. So let's do a problem here. Let's do the square root of x to the 12, y to the 10, z to the 8. Why not? All right, so what we're going to figure out is how many x's from these x to the 12s will escape. Well, I need to take the number of the exponents. I need to take 12. I need to divide it by 2. So that tells me that exactly 6 are going to escape. Always half, because 1 from each group. The other ones will die. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my answer will be x to the 6th, y to the 5th, z to the 4th. Now you may have noticed that all the examples I've done so far have had even exponents. That's because they're easier. So let's go through an example here where we have an odd exponent. Let's say x to the 11. All right, do you know how many groups of x's you're going to be able to circle with 11 x's? The answer is you do, just not yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, so let's go ahead and circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how there's 1 left over? You should have known that there was going to be 1 left over because we have an odd number, right? And we're circling groups of 2, so there's got to be 1 left out. All right, so what we know here is that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 groups of x's. That means that 5 will come out front, and we're going to have that lone x that stays inside. All right, so that would be your final answer. There is a way to do that a little bit faster. Okay, see we have an x to the 41, right? That's odd. What you want to do is you want to take 1 off of this number. So instead of doing 41, do 40. Okay, so take 40 and divide by 2 like you normally would to figure out how many groups you would have. That's going to tell you 20. So that tells you is that I'm going to have 20 x's out front, but I know that that was 1 extra. There was going to be 1 extra x, right? Because I didn't take 41. I didn't take this number and divide by groups of 2. I took 1 off and then divided by groups of 2. So I'm going to have that 1 left over, and that 1 left over is always going to be inside. All right, so say y to the 123. What I would do is I would take 1 off this number. Knowing that it's odd, I know I'm going to have 1 left over, right? So I take 1 off to get 122, and I take that number and I divide it by 2. That is, what is that, 61? That's 61, so I know I'm going to have a y to the 61, and I know I'm just going to have one y left over inside. All right, you should never have more than one of the variable left inside the square root. And if you do have more than one, then that just means that you can simplify it further. Okay, let's go over one example. Let's go over 2 examples here with both variables and numbers. How about 20x to the 5th? And how about a 32x squared y to the 5? There we go. This one, we want to do the numbers. All right, so we do the square root of, and this is going to be 2 times 2 times 5. If we want to write these x's out, we can. 2, 3, 4, 5. Circle groups of 2, groups of 2, groups of 2. All right, one from each group is going to escape. The other ones from the groups are going to die, die, die. What do we have left? We have a 2 out front. We have 2 x's out front, so we really have a 2x squared out front. And what's left inside? We have this 5. The ones left inside there are the 5 and the x over here. Don't miss that, x. So we really just have a 5x left inside. So that's my final answer there. And then this last one, 32. Wow, that's a nice old prime factorization. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's the prime factorization of 32. All right, I could write out my x's and my y's, but I'm not going to because we should begin to get a little bit better at that. So let's do my 2's. Group 2, group 2. One escapes, one escapes, one dies, one dies. So what am I going to have? I'm going to have a 2. I'm going to have a 4 out front. And I'm going to have just be left with a 2 inside. Now, I left a lot of space there because I still have the variables to do. So for my x squared, how many is going to come out front? Well, the amount that's going to come out front is just taking your exponent and dividing by 2. So my x2 divided by 2 is 1, so that means that I'm just going to have an x that comes out front. How many y's are going to come out front? Well, that exponent is odd. All right, so what I would want to do is I would want to take 5, and I would want to take 1 off to get 4. All right, so I have 4 y's. That means I'm going to have 2 groups. So that means y to the second is going to come out front. And because that's an odd number, I know I'm just going to have that 1 left over that I wasn't able to circle. Now, I could have written these out, right, like this. Could have circled groups. This one comes out, gone, out, out, gone, gone. Notice how you have a 2 that wasn't circled and a y that wasn't circled. That's why there's a 2y inside the square root. And then the other y's and x's came from the groups that I circled. Thank you for watching.